What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Rays. Riverdale Season 4 is finally here, and we can tell you that we are extremely excited to see where the new season will take us. In today's video, we are going to break down Episode 1 called In Memoriam. We upload new Riverdale videos each week on Movie Rays, so make sure to subscribe if you want to stay up to date. With that said, let's jump straight into the video. The episode begins at Pop's, where Jughead is continuing on writing his story about Riverdale. He mentions that the Griffins and Gargoyle game is already becoming a legend, and even though the members of the farm haven't been forgotten, the memories have started to fade. Everyone in Riverdale has their minds set on July 4th, and the citizens are excited about the Independence Parade that's going to take place in town. Even though it has been extremely quiet in Riverdale for months, Jughead actually appreciates it because that gave him some time to work on his story. We then cut to a scene in Betty's bedroom, and Betty is eagerly reading through Jughead's story. Betty then says that she believes Jughead's story is going to win the writing contest easily, revealing that Jughead is participating in a competition. The reward for winning the contest is most likely a spot in one of the better schools, and therefore we hope that Jughead wins the contest because he definitely deserves to go to a good college. After Jughead and Betty's moment, we jump straight into bed with Veronica and Archie, because where would they be if not in bed together? During their conversations, it is revealed that Veronica and Pops is sponsoring the 4th of July parade. Of course, nothing in Riverdale happens without the lodges being involved in some way. The episode started out with some cute moments between our favorite characters, but trust us, things are going to get a lot more sinister. In the Blossom mansion, we follow Cheryl as she's walking down the hallway into a small room where none other than Jason is waiting for her. Cheryl doesn't care about the fact that Jason is dead. Instead, she pretends like he's still alive and starts to read the newspaper for him. When she finds out about the 4th of July parade, she instantly turns, and this is because Jason died the same date, and therefore she doesn't want anyone to celebrate this day. Furious, Cheryl makes her way down to Pop's to stop the others from getting ready for the parade. However, the others are not that easily convinced by Cheryl, and when she doesn't get what she wants, she drives off. The following scene is a scene that most fans won't be able to forget. The core four is gathered at Pop's, eating a lunch and talking about going out and camping together. Everything seems fine and everyone is happy until Archie's phone starts to ring. Surprised by something, he walks away from the others, and just moments after, he collapses on the floor. Luckily, the others noticed this, and they ran to help Archie as fast as they possibly could. F.P. Jones visits the Andrews family and delivers the sad news. Fred Andrews died in a car accident because he was trying to help another driver. Devastated by the news, Archie asks, "So what are we supposed to do now?" After the meeting with FP, they called a funeral parlor in order to start planning Fred's funeral. They decide they want him to be buried in a grave next to his father. Unfortunately, the woman from the funeral parlor delivered more bad news by revealing that transporting Fred's body to Riverdale will cost $9,000. Veronica interrupts the conversation, saying, quote, "Of course, whatever it takes," which probably means that she will help pay for Fred's funeral. We then get a really emotional moment with most of the crew sharing stories about Fred. Lili reveals that when they were kids, there was a father-daughter competition she really wanted to participate in, but her father wasn't there to compete with her. Instead, Fred was there, and he told her that he could compete with her. So in a sense, he was her father that day. We're not going to bring up all the experiences, but we have to include Jughead's because it's really emotional. Jughead said that when his father started getting a problem with his drinking, his mother always called Fred, who picked FP up at the bar and took him home safely. After getting FP into bed, he used to stay around for a while and talked with Jughead about school and always asked if he had eaten anything, always wanting to make sure Jughead wasn't going hungry.
I just wanted to know if I was hungry. I always was.
Your dad was such a gentleman, Archie.
Later that night, Archie wakes up and hears a strange sound from downstairs. He leaves Veronica and starts to make his way downstairs. When he's at the edge of the stairs, he can already see dead Grandpa standing downstairs. Archie asks where Fred is, and Grandpa Andrews responds saying he isn't here. "Come, I'll show you." Archie walks down the stairs and follows his grandpa to the kitchen where everyone he knows is standing, dead and alive. Confused why his father isn't here, he once again asks, "Where is Dad?" Grandpa Andrews quickly responds, "You were supposed to get him, Archie." And that's when Archie finally wakes up from his nightmare. Veronica is also woken up by Archie's nightmare and asks him what's going on. He responded that he has to go get his father. He doesn't want to wait 3 days to bury him. He wants to do it as fast as possible, even if it means he has to go get him himself. Veronica understands and calls Reggie and the others over. Reggie doesn't hesitate when Archie asks him if he could borrow his car to get Fred's body instead. He encourages him to do so. Archie, Veronica, Betty, and Jughead all jump into the car and drive off to get Fred's body. At first, the funeral home doesn't want to release Fred's body to Archie because he's underage. Luckily, he could call his mother and she convinced them to allow Archie to transport Fred himself. Archie then requests to see his father, which is something Veronica doesn't think is a smart idea, but Archie insists that he wants to see Fred's body. Just outside, moments before entering the room in which Fred is in, he changes his mind and instead asks Veronica and Betty to see if it's really his father in there. After confirming that it was Fred, Betty and Veronica deliver the news to Archie. And even though he knew it was Fred in there, he still didn't want to believe that it was. On the way back to Riverdale, Archie stops by the place Fred died to pick up his truck. While getting the truck, Archie has an emotional encounter with the woman that Fred tried to help, who came back with flowers in order to pay her respects to Fred. Out of thousands of cars driving by, only Fred stopped to help her. But that was just how Fred was, a man that always did everything in his path to help everyone else. We strongly believe that Fred and Luke Perry weren't that different, because the cast has described Luke Perry as the one who always made sure everyone was happy. Archie gets a phone call from FP, and this time we have some good news. The man who drove the car that killed Fred turned himself in, but because he paid the bail, he was allowed to leave the station. FP assures Archie that his father is going to get justice. But Archie isn't having it, saying that he should be rotting in a cell. Determined to take things into his own hands, he hangs up on FP and decides to confront the driver himself. After looking through hundreds of pages with addresses, he finally finds the name he was looking for. He instantly jumps back into the truck and heads towards the address. With determined steps, he walks towards the door and knocks on it repeatedly until a middle-aged man opens the door. After confirming that he's the man who drove the car, he pushes him against the wall and tells him who he is. When the man says, "Take it easy, son," it only makes it worse, and Archie replies that, "You took away the only man who could call me that." Archie is stopped by a voice screaming, "Please let him go." Surprised, Archie looks towards the kitchen and there stands a young boy with tears in his eyes. The boy reveals that it was he who drove the car and not his dad. His dad was just trying to protect him. Apparently, he took the car without permission and doesn't even have a driver's license. Shocked, Archie walks outside, and after a while he is picked up by Jughead and the others because thankfully they were tipped off by FP that he might be there. The final way to Riverdale, Archie and the others are met by FP and 2 police cars. He asks if Archie would like a police escort the rest of the way to Riverdale, saying that it's the least he can do for Fred. When they arrive in Riverdale, they are greeted by the American flag and hundreds of people have gathered to honor Fred, holding up signs saying "Welcome home, Fred." Watching this scene actually makes us tear up, we're not gonna lie. When Archie is home again, he is hugged by his mother and she tells him just how proud she is to have him as a son. After a while, she adds, "I know he would too." Cutting to the actual funeral, Archie, Jughead, Kevin, and Reggie are carrying the coffin while Josie is singing. Everyone gathers around the coffin and then takes turns leaving a rose on it. We can tell that this isn't just acting. The people are actually sad, and this is their way of saying goodbye to a friend and colleague they've been working with for years. After everyone has left their rose on the coffin, Archie steps forward in order to say some words. He begins by saying that he has thought about how much of Riverdale Fred helped build. He helped build everything from stores, apartments, and office buildings. He was one of the few who actually helped build Riverdale, literally. He continues to say that if he has children in the future, he would love to be able to point to a building or even a brick and say, "Grandpa built that." He ends his speech by saying that even though it hurts him that they didn't get to say goodbye, he knows that he will live on in Riverdale and in everyone he ever met. Fred Andrews will always be part of Riverdale. "I love you, Dad," Archie said. Afterwards, when Veronica wants to discuss the payment, it's revealed that it has already been paid by none other than Hiram Lodge. While at the graveyard, Betty pays a visit to her father's grave, which is sprayed with paint, saying the Black Hood burns in hell, and a bunch of bottles crushed against it. Before the episode ends, Jughead gets inspiration to write about Fred, and we can see him smiling while tears are dripping down his chin as he writes down the story of Fred Andrews. In loving memory, Luke Perry, 1966 to 2019. May he rest in peace.